Hi, this is the Average Human Being podcast, a podcast about noticing the small moments that shape us more than the big ones. I'm Darren Mell, Average Human Being. I'm not here to teach you anything, just talk about being human. Thanks for listening. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Average Human Being podcast. I'm your host, Darren Mell, fellow average human being. And as I record this one today, which is February 12th, 2026, the episode here, I titled it The Quiet Power of I Was Wrong. And I wanted to not talk politics, but the politics of today is very loud, very performative. And I caught a little bit of some, we'll just call it grilling that was going on to some of our leaders currently. And I had it on for maybe 5 minutes, and it was both sides just yelling back and forth at each other. And I don't even remember what the original question that was asked. And it's almost now where it feels like I'm watching a reality show that I cannot connect with. And I've thought about this, and I have brought this up many times now to my family. And I thought about this, and I ask you, the listener, fellow average human beings, when was the last time you heard a public figure simply say, I was wrong? Again, I'm an aging Gen Xer, and one of my favorite shows was Happy Days. I loved Henry Winkler's character as the Fonz, and I appreciate him even more as he did so many other great roles. Loved him in The Water Boy. But the Fonz, the mythical character that he played, whenever he tried to say that he was wrong, he struggled and couldn't get the word wrong out. He couldn't say it. And it turns out, hell, Fonzie had more character than a lot of our political leaders do. And when they speak, so much of it is thrown around. They talk about accountability, integrity, and success and all this stuff. And when you think about it, and I've been thinking about this, is that volume isn't integrity. And sorry isn't a weakness. And it's a question of, are you just loud or are you honest? But I believe that there's a quiet power in saying to somebody that you were wrong. And I've said it for years, but I don't hear anybody else say it. It's always deflect, delay, and blame, and bring something else up and never answer a question. And we wonder why the political mess that we are in here in the United States, what sticks with me is that nobody, when all of us interview for jobs, when we sit down, we do our compliance trainings and all the things we have to do, it's jokingly like, oh, would you accept $10 or would you take somebody's, Subway sandwich coupon because it's against corporate, our compliance policy and you can lose your job? And yet we see our political figures doing things at a scale. There's absolutely no accountability. And I think by saying that you were wrong and saying that you were sorry and actually apologizing is a sign of strength. And it's also a form of accountability. In a world that rewards volume, right now, the rarest thing that you can hear is accountability. And one of the things that I've noticed, and I want to see if you agree with this, is I don't think that we correct anymore. We counterpunch. It's no names, no parties. It's just a pattern. And I'm open to, again, this is a community. I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments. But I think that we've been confusing, admitting wrong feels like you're losing. And social media, it rewards certainty and not humility. And I think The egos of today equate apology with weakness, and that leaders, they fear that they're going to lose their status by showing that weakness, even though it's not the case. And it's just we've been sold that. But I think for those of us that are average, we understand that we appreciate that when people, I'm as I've mentioned, I'm a people leader. I've been one for over 20 years. So I've always been responsible for anywhere from 5 to 30 people. And the biggest thing that I try to do as a leader is connect with these people to understand what their hopes and their dreams that they're trying to get out of their job. Because if we both understand it, I've just found that you work better together to try to achieve those goals. And we've confused with being wrong with being worthless. And I don't think that's the case. Because I got to tell you, if that's the case, then I'm extremely worthless because I've been wrong quite a few times. And what is the character of someone who admits fault? Someone that tells the truth, owns their mistakes, apologizes clearly, and then actually you see changes being made. Isn't that a sign of emotional maturity and self-awareness, credibility, and internal stability? If you think about it, people who can admit that they're wrong, they don't shrink in our eyes. They grow. Think about that. People, they grow from that. And it's very difficult when we look at our political world. And it's easy to compare to that because there's zero accountability. And I don't know about you. I don't even know what it is they do every day other than just yell at each other. And how can you respect people when you constantly cut them off and you're yelling and you're taking in the personal attacks too, that this is a different world now where the things that politically people say back and forth to each other, they're terrible. But when you think about it, performative leaders, they're loud, they're reactive, defensive, they blame external forces, the whole us versus them. I don't know about you. I love the song Us versus Us and Them by Pink Floyd. It's a fantastic song. But I haven't met them yet. And I've been told that I'm part of them, and I don't even know who them is. And sorry for the English, but when you think about a principal leader, they're calm. They're transparent. They're more about building long-term trust and take responsibility. And ask yourself this: who do you trust in the political world? And if you don't, if the answer is no to everybody, then there's a problem there. I don't know if we can correct it, but we don't have to put up with it. And I thought about this as a performance. When you think about it, it creates attention, but integrity creates trust. And I think that that's the main point and the thesis of it all. So how do we bring it back to being average? Ask yourself this: have you deflected at home? Do you apologize when you know you've done something wrong? Or how do you respond when you get called out? If it's factual. Now, if somebody's making up something, which happens a lot from politics, but one of the other episodes I recently did was talking about when people say at the end of the day, it's just politics. And I said, well, it's not that anymore because humanity has been brought into it. The word humanity, they go together. It's a derivative. But the culture that is out there in the performative world, it starts with the habits that are in here, inside of you. And that, to me, is everything. In a very, very loud world, integrity whispers, but it lasts longer. And this time of our lives, it's crazy. And I find comfort in the family that I have. And I hope that you do too. And I ask you this question, or a couple of questions to think about. When was the last time someone gained your respect by admitting that they were wrong? What did it do for you to trust them? And then secondly, what makes it hardest for you to personally say that you were wrong? And that, my friends, is just my thought for today. I can't fix Washington. It just feels like it's on another planet. But I have definitely decreased any interaction that I have in watching that, because it's not what I'm about. Average human beings don't get into that type of performative nature. And I do believe that trust and integrity are everything. And I appreciate you listening. Would love to hear what you have to say about what's going on out there. That's all for today. Thanks for listening. Have a good one. This has been the Average Human Being Podcast with Darren Mel. Thanks for listening.